Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. You know what? Let's start off with Josh and Trina for a minute. Um, wow. So Josh and Trina are in this sketchy bar. They already have this look on their face like they're both uncomfortable, like this is just not their world. It's just icky and scary and dangerous. That is the look that they have in their eyes. And one of the bartenders come up and is like, "You look very young to be here. Let me see your IDs." Well, so of course they bring out their IDs and it's fake. I mean, obviously it's fake, but the guy looks at it and he can just tell right off the bat that it's like, yeah, no. I think he asked him a question as far as a band is concerned, and I think Josh was like, "Oh yeah, it's like a boy band or something," and he was like, "Yeah, you can just kick rocks, just leave." But then Trina says something like, "Oh yeah, we need IDs, we need like fake IDs or whatever, and like phones and stuff." And so the guy's like, "Well, if you need that stuff, just talk to him, but make it quick." And I'm like, weren't you just pretty much trying to tell them to leave since they were underage, and you didn't want them to be there? To now you pointing them to a guy that can help them get fake stuff? Like, what was the point of asking them for the What's the point of telling them to leave if you're just gonna sit there and say, "Oh, well, you can go see him"? That, that- okay. So anyway, he talked to the guy. They try to get some information out of him as far as hey, we need this, that, and the third. So the guy starts talking. There is another guy that's on the far end of the bar that's looking at both of those two. So I already knew I was like, yo, this guy's gonna be trouble. And they're asking questions. They show Asmer's face or whatever with their phone, like, oh, our friend, came here a couple weeks ago to buy a phone. So at least the guy confirmed that Asmer was there to buy the fake phone. But now this guy comes up and he's like hella on their shoulders. Okay? And he's all like, oh yeah, I know you too. I know you because porn. Okay, let's just. You're like, yeah, yeah. I've recognized your face over the internet, and you, I know you too. Your dad is a cop. So now, now instead of both of them just being like, all right, whatever, we got going. Let's just kind of change it up a little bit. The both that they're trying to deny it, all like, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Oh, my dad isn't a cop, and at this point, this guy gets really pissed off. The guy is all over Josh, and Josh pushes her off and pushes the guy off. So now the bar, I guess the owner or whatever, sees this and like, hey, let them go, leave them alone or whatever. So now the bartender, I guess the manager or whatever, is they're fighting this creep. So they're going back and forth. And this whole, the way this bar scene, the way this like bar fight just erupts, just seems like it's just kind of out of nowhere. But anyway, everyone starts fighting. They're just going back and forth, whatever. I guess the bartender that they were talking to try to get like, the legal stuff or whatever, he dips out. But there's no, I guess there's not a clear enough path for them to sit there and try to follow them without getting hurt or hit or something. Next thing you know, they hear the cops. So now at this point, I'm just sitting there thinking like, bro, don't you got like a back door or something? Or probably not, because I'm sitting there thinking they got a back door. But now I'm thinking about it, I'm like, they probably surrounded the whole area. So they're screwed out of the way. And now I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm like, Trina, this this so does not look good for you. And you see in the previews or whatever, Josh's like, hey, listen, take me in, just let her go, or whatever. Now, obviously, that's not going to happen. And Trina, Trina's situation went from bad to worse. So, oof. I feel like this whole storyline is going to be probably going into like maybe November. I'm guessing. Seeing how they did that whole Nixon Falls thing for like nearly a year. I feel like this is the length that they're gonna probably put this storyline in. So long. And the sad thing is, I'm hearing myself just kind of groaning and complaining, but you got so many other storylines that's going on that I'll probably wind up forgetting about complaining until like maybe next week, give or take. Now I will sit there and say for the most part that this episode was better than yesterday's episode. Um, it was better than yesterday's episode. Now this whole campfire, this whole camping trip thing, I feel like it was just an attempt to just throw as many cast members as they possibly could um in this episode, so this way they can kind of just get them out the way and get their contract fulfilled and everything else, because you got a buttload of people. Just to put it lightly, you have Aiden. That's At first I thought that was Wyatt, but yeah, you got Aiden that's not there flipping out at Cam for, I guess, like trying to help him or whatever. I don't exactly remember what wound up happening, but I think Finn tried to diffuse the situation by getting Wyatt to sit there and come in and kind of help Aiden out, because what Finn realized is that probably all the boys are scared. Not just Cam, not just Aiden, that just, came out I'm not gonna lie, that just came out the blue. But probably Jake as well. So got Wyatt to sit there and help him out or whatever. Cam apologized for being a dick. Um kind of realized that, he's just there to help. He just, he wants what's best for, Liz and his family and everything like that. So, they make peace or whatever. Now I do kind of look at that whole thing and I'm like I'm wondering how some of the Franco fans are sitting there taking this whole thing, because I'm pretty sure they're not happy about this whole thing. It took Franco a while to bond with Cam. A while, like a really long time. Ben comes up, he does a couple of things, and it's just, hey, listen, we're cool, we're shaking hands, it's all good. So I'm pretty sure there's probably some people that are probably annoyed about that. Because even now I'm thinking about just how jarring that is. And I'm just like, I mean, it's good. Because to be honest, whenever Cam is kind of pissy, he's just kind of acting like a dick. It's just like, ugh, you know? So on one hand, it's nice to not have that tension, just him constantly being pissy or whatever. Because after a while, it gets kind of annoying. But I do kind of look at that whole thing and just how fast that he warmed up to him just by a couple of nice gestures. And Franco was like literally busting his ass. He literally had to sacrifice himself for Cam before Cam actually, really appreciated Franco. But whatever. Um, I was singing along songs, and I'll be honest, it wasn't actually bad. It wasn't actually bad. I was sitting there just like, oh man, we're gonna sit there and do this song. And I'm looking at my phone and I'm just like, and I hear it and I'm like, well, it was not exactly the worst thing I heard. Um, anyway, we finally figure out who, well, actually we don't. We know that there's somebody that was watching Franco, that was watching Austin and Max. And, they were sitting there deciding, like, oh, should we go there? Should we see? Is there a wolf? Is it a skunk? Yada, yada, yada. And then, Violet came in and, she was like, oh, boo, whatever. But towards the end, Austin was like, okay, listen, you got my attention. But, moving forward, whenever you want to sit there and see me, don't do it when Maxie's here. It's clearly some guy. I'm curious to sit there and see who it is. I'm also sitting there just like, how many characters they got in the show so far? I'm hoping that they probably used a existing character, but I can't sit there and possibly think of who it can be. Um, so Cody follows Zelda back to the hotel, sees Spinelli. He's listening in. Now he heard some of the conversation as far as Zelda being like, hey, listen, there's not going to be a lawsuit. We settled everything with Brit. We're good. Um, Before Spinelli decides to turn the music up really loud. And I'm sitting there thinking in my head, why did he not do that the first time? Anyway, at some point, Spinelli leaves the room and Cody's like, hey, listen, we gotta sit there and talk. And by talk, he means, a shakedown or whatever, extort him for some money. Um, After talking to Dante and Sam, he wants to sit there and kind of chill with them. But at that point, they were ready for something a lot more adult. Um, I'm going to be kind of honest. I'm surprised that even with Dante, because he kept looking at Sonny with Nina the whole time, and I'm sitting there thinking that didn't really like ruin the mood or anything. I guess not. Okay. Um, Spinelli at the end of the episode, Spinelli sitting there talking to Zelda, and he's like, "Yeah, we got a problem." And you can see, Cody has like a wad full of cash or whatever, and I'm just like, bro, why did you pay him? The thing about paying somebody like that who's gonna blackmail you is you're gonna constantly keep paying them. Now, granted, it might be a stall tactic, but still, it's like you give them money once, they're not gonna go away. They're gonna be you're gonna be their personal ATM machine. So I'm just really surprised that he actually just folded so quickly. Like, what did he really have that Spinelli was like, oh, well, you got me. I guess we'll go to the ATM so I can sit there and give you your payout. Like, what did he really have? I don't really understand. Okay, so speaking of the whole Savoy thing with Sam and Dante just looking at Sonny, because Sonny was like, I want you to stay with me, with Nina. So they were sitting there talking or whatever. And Sonny's all like, oh, well, I want to really get, a chance for us to get to know each other and to see where we go. But Nina's feeling kind of uncomfortable, with Dante just kind of, giving them the stink eye more or less. So they decide to go to Charlie's. So they're hanging out, chilling. And I'm looking at this whole thing and I'm like, bro, listen, this is not a good start to whatever sort of relationship that you're going to have. Because it's a small town. And what you always just gonna sit there and go to Charlie's every time that you two got to go out? You're just gonna go to Charlie's, like is. And I know some people that don't like the whole Sonny and Nina being together. It's kind of looking at that like, bro, that's just not a good thing. Like is that your consciousness there? Are you ashamed of really going out with her? That you got to go to one place that that Carly and most of your family is not going to go to, um, or won't judge you like Christina. It's like if it's so wrong, then you probably what I'm saying. Like if you're feeling so guilty and you don't want to be seen, with your family, whatever, then you're doing something wrong. Your conscience is telling you you're doing something wrong, and maybe some people are like, oh, it's the old Sonny that's breaking through. I don't know. But they get to talking. And, Sonny says something along the lines of, it was a really bad day, whatever. I had this really ugly fight with Carly. And basically she was telling me that we're done, we're finished, and, there's no going back. I'm just sitting there looking at the whole thing. I'm like, bro, you literally just admitted to using this woman to get over a argument that you had with your ex. And been watching the channel for a while. You know how I feel about Nina. Okay? You know how I feel about Nina. But even Nina was like, so you telling me that whole kiss was because you had an argument with your ex-wife? Now, I don't like Nina. Okay? Spoilers, I don't like Nina. If you're new to the channel. But with that being said, you know, woman deserves a lot of hell. But you can sit there and say that about most of the characters. She doesn't deserve to be used to make somebody feel better about getting, to get over their ex to sit there and be used, to be used. I may not like the woman, but it still isn't right. And I'm glad that Nina picked up on that. Now, just because I did sit there and give her credit and said that she did pick up on it, which is true. This whole Sonny and Nina thing is gonna happen. So he probably gonna have to apologize, do some groveling maybe. Which I really do hope he apologizes. I do. Okay, so in the beginning, Brooke is not there calling Chase, who is sitting. I guess he's watching the game or whatever, and he's eating like a big bowl of cereal, something called Lamel's cereal. I'm just like, why? Okay, why do they need to show the cereal for? Is this going to be like something in the future that they're going to do, or like what was the point of showing the cereal? We could have just guessed any sort of cereal and be like, all right, he's eating cereal, whatever. But they made it a special point to point out what cereal he was eating. Now, if this is the real cereal, please let me know. Um, anyway, Brooklyn's like, yo, listen, we should be hanging out together, chilling, and you're sitting there watching the game or whatever. I'm like, okay, well, what's the problem? I mean, dude's not working. Like, let him chill. Let him chill for a little bit. But he gets down there, they're talking, and after Brooklyn's practically having eye sex with Chase, she, sees Link over there. So Link comes over, they start going back and forth. Link is doing his usual gloating, aka being kind of gross. Um, he goes back and he leaves. Chase comes over there to sit there and have words with him. I'm like, bro, listen, you're so close to being a cop again. I feel like at this point, does anyone even want him to be a cop? I remember that was his thing, but I feel like he's been taking so many chances with with Brooklyn. Oh my goodness, Brooklyn. He's been taking so many chances. I'm just like, bro, are you sure you even want to be a cop anymore? While he's doing that, Brooklyn goes inside Link's jacket, sees some sort of card with like a password and numbers or whatever. So Link leaves. They get to talking, and Brooklyn's like, "Yo, listen, we gotta follow him, yada yada yada. He's going back to some secret club or whatever." And they make this sort of innuendo to the movie called Eyes Wide Shut. I actually like that movie. Um, anyway, they I haven't watched it in a while, so I don't know if it still holds up. But anyway, Chase is like, listen, can we just chill, just enjoy some drinks, and just sit by the pool or whatever? And Brooklyn's like, yeah, whatever. Why don't you go and get us the first round? So of course, when he gets up to leave to get the drinks or whatever, she bolts it straight to the Savoy. They were talking about Miss Wu for a little bit, but it didn't really go anywhere. Anyway, she's at the Savoy, and she changed up a little bit. I guess she's gonna sit there and try to follow him to see what he's up to, which is like I don't really think she's gonna get that far or anything, but whatever. Um, speaking of the Savoy, TJ stops by, which I'm gonna be completely honest, I almost felt like he was somewhat useless in this episode to some extent. I'm still sitting there thinking about the time that I praised him when he had that really good heartfelt scene with Marshall. And ever since then, it was almost like they were like, "Hey, listen, you did great, kid, but we're just gonna kind of just move you back a little bit." And that's literally what he wound up doing. He's back to being a supportive character. I guess he's always been a supportive character, but still. He's talking to Curtis about Marshall, um, schizophrenia and everything like that. And Curtis earlier was not there looking at the text from Miss Wu about the game or whatever tonight. Now he had that look of disappointment on his face, like, "Oh, here we go again." I'm just like, bro, this has been going on for a while. I don't understand. Like every and eventually, Miss Wu does show up. Says some words to TJ, and you can see Curtis' disdain for just her being in the club or whatever. And I'm like, bro, the only thing, the only thing I was sitting there hoping for is that he wouldn't sit there and whine about another one of her games being at this club. I'm like, bro, y'all had an agreement, and she held her part of the agreement. And granted, the information that you got was, it's whatever. You know, she hasn't really done anything to violate your rules or anything like that. So I'm like, bro, I guess what I'm sitting there saying was like, I was so sick and tired of his whining. Um, when she was like, hey, listen, I got a new client. I was, a very special guest or whatever. It's going to be attending the game tonight or whatever. So I want to make sure everything is like nice and good. And you can just tell he just looks like, oh, whatever. I'm like, bro, this is a thing. This is happening. You need to get over it and accept it at this point. Um, and she was not there trying to be somewhat concerning, like, hey, listen, I get you got stuff going with your family, but I'm here for you, just to be a voice. And I know Miss Wu, she's a criminal, underworld, everything like that. But you know what? I guess one of the things in life that I've noticed is that sometimes it's easier to talk to a stranger than talk to the people that's close to you. Because talking to a stranger, there's no expectations. There's no feeling like you have to filter yourself or hide or not just be blunt and honest. I don't know. Maybe hopefully down the line they can have some sort of friendship or whatever. It won't be as like, oh, it's Miss Wu again here to do this whole club thing. It's like, bro, it's enough. Like, anyway, I feel like that's about it. I really do. I feel like that's about it. So, with that being said, I'm gonna go. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next video.